Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so the score was 123 to 100. The Los Angeles Lakers did lose the final game of the preseason to the Phoenix Suns. And I'm going to tell you the truth. My halftime video pretty much sums up what the whole game was about for us. Because everything in the second half was absolutely terrible. It was just us putting in a 5-man line change, which we learned last season does not work well in basketball, man. I didn't know this throughout the course of me growing up, but last season we zeroed in on Darvin Ham putting a 5-man change, subbing out all 5 players, bringing in a whole new starting second unit 5, and it does not bode well for the Lakers. It's exceptionally horrible when this happens, and Darvin needs to never do this, man. Never do this. I don't care if it's preseason. I don't care if you want to take a look at these players. You got to stagger them, bro. We learned this last season. You have to stagger them, because if you bring in 5 guys off the bench, all 5 of them have to get in rhythm, and all 5 of them are likely going up against people who are already in rhythm because the other team didn't do that. And it had that type of effect, and I think it hurts the process of trying to see what you're trying to see because of it. And you want to see if a guy like Cam Reddish can play well. That's not how you want to do it. And so that's just my critique of the situation. I think we kind of botched that by way of how we rotated tonight. You never do that, man. We talked about this last year. So that is what we did for this particular game. Started midway through the third quarter. We just decided to sub out everybody who was in the game and brought in some guys that just did not have it, man. So, as far as what happened in the first half, LeBron James had 19 points, 3 out of 5 from behind the arc. He played great. Anthony Davis came in with 5 blocks in the first 9 minutes of play. He was absolutely awesome. Kevin Durant had 21 points in the first half. We didn't see those guys no more. So it was like, that was it. If you really want to know what the sum of what was most fun for this game, it was all summed up in the first halftime video, man. It really was. The second half of this game was absolutely hard to watch for me. First of all, somewhere around the 8-minute mark, the clock malfunctioned. And since my halftime video ran so late, I kind of chimed in at that point. I checked out the play-by-play on NBA TV, and the quarter started off bad for the Lakers, really bad for the Lakers, and it continued bad for the Lakers after the clock malfunctioning process. And he put that 5-man rotation in, and it was even worse from there. So we scored a total of 15 points in the third quarter. And I'm all for giving the young guys a chance. And I'm glad they were able to get their run. It is a preseason game, so we're happy with that. But like I said, I just really genuinely believe that we did not get the most out of that playing time because of how we rotated those players, man. I really do. It's almost like you might as well not have done it. You might as well just you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if your intention is to see everybody how they're going to play to fight for their lives, if you rotate them that way, you're going to get the worst out of them. So that's really my whole opinion. I just thought that was not productive, man. That was not productive. Colin Castleton played pretty well. We saw him get a nice jam down in the fourth quarter, 4 out of 5 shooting. The big plus for me in the second half was Max Christie. We were running a lot of plays for him, and he was able to shoot the ball very well. And he hasn't been able to in this preseason. So I thought that stood out very much. Jackson Hayes, I thought, popped off the screen very well. You got to give credit to the Phoenix Suns. Saban Lee played really well in the fourth quarter. Just seemed to hit every shot for the Phoenix Suns. You got to give him credit. Utah Watanabe had a very good game as well. Devin Eubanks, I thought, had the dunk of the night. He was just phenomenally gifted, jumping off of the ground, dunking on Rui Hachimura in this game. I thought he was really, really impressive there. You know what I'm saying? As we've already said in the halftime video, I thought Eric Gordon played really well in the first half. So there's a lot to say for the other team, man. Chezi Metu shooting the 3-ball very well. I thought that was impressive. And so, the Phoenix Suns, I just think they've done a really good job of putting good role players around their big three. My criticism of teams that build top heavy is that they often don't find talent to put around those guys. But we talked about the Brooklyn Nets last year and how crappy that bench was. I think they did a much better job with the Phoenix Suns this year. It's almost night and day in my opinion. I think the Phoenix Suns are a legitimate contender, and it's not just because they have the big three. It's because they have guys like Nas Little and Eubanks and Bol and Saban Lee. I mean, the bench just goes on and on and on. Josh Okogie and everybody they've brought in. Nas Little. I mean, their team is really deep with great players. Keita Bates-Diop is another player I like a lot. So they just did a fantastic job of putting role players on this team. And I would not be surprised if they win the championship. I would not be surprised by that. They're the real deal. And so I think we saw their bench just look a lot better than our bench. And I don't necessarily think it's because it's that much more talented than ours. It's just, as I already said, how we rotated it. I have to say this, and I've been thinking about it for about 25-30 minutes. Cam Reddish's development didn't go well, man. Just watching some of the decisions that he makes down there, I don't think that he's in a position to really take on the role that we want to give him. I think that we should probably swap him out with Max Lewis. Max Lewis should get all of the things in the minutes that we're trying to give to Cam Reddish. I really believe that at this point. It just comes down to this for me. Cam Reddish has been in the league for several years, and unfortunately he just got off to a bad start with the franchises that he was with. The New York Knicks didn't do him any favors with the minutes he got there. The Atlanta Hawks should not have drafted him in the first place, and the injuries that he took on early on set his development back. And now it's one of those situations where he's a few years into his career and he doesn't have the upside of some of the young pups that we got, but he's making all the mistakes they would make because he didn't develop properly. So for me, just because he's been in the league a little longer, I don't really care for giving him carte blanche over those guys just because in theory he's supposed to be ahead of them. When I see what a guy like Max Lewis is bringing to the table, he's just flat out better. Now, if Cam Reddish never would have had those injuries, he still had some of the athleticism, I would feel that way. If he still had some of that speed, I would feel that way. But the way I'm looking at it right now, I just see a better player in Max Lewis. I just see a better player, man. And I did like that one play where, Cam Reddish was able to show his ability dribbling the ball, made a quick move, got to the rim. Very impressive. But that was literally the only impressive thing he did, in my opinion. Shot selection was bad. Defensive possessions were bad. More or less his fouling was just poor. It was just a lot of stuff. He was getting outsmarted out there, man. And for me, my opinion is this: if Cam Reddish wants to really make it in this league, he's gonna have to work harder than everybody on the team, man. It's gonna be about him getting up early in the morning and going to sleep late at night, and that means working hard as hell on his game, on concepts, sitting down with coaches and spending more time with them than anybody else. That's the only way he's going to make it, man, because he's already gotten off to a very bad start. He's already had a very serious knee injury or leg injury or whatever it was, and there are players coming in that are just ready, ready, with more upside than he can give them right now, and maybe even less of a learning curve based on what I'm seeing. Just got to be completely honest. And this is coming from somebody who really believed in Cam Reddish, who wanted him on the team. But now I'm getting a chance to look at him. To me, it just he got drafted to the wrong teams, man. And this is why we talk about player development being so important. Atlanta Hawks did nothing for that dude, nothing for him or any of the other players that they had over the last 6 years that came in like him, who needed development. Now that since then, I don't have the same criticism for the Hawks because they've done solid with what they got and got some young guys that have done well and all of that. But he came in before Trae Young. He came in before they got DeJounte Murray, and during that era, they just weren't developing players like that. Back when Jeff Teague was a point guard, they weren't developing nada, and he got the worst of it, in my opinion. He really did. He could play some, you know what I mean? But as far as where he is on the pecking order, on this roster, like I said, it's going to take hard work, man. It's going to take hard work, and it's going to take some patience for the coaches to really work with him while simultaneously having other people to work with as well that, like I said, we're going to be able to do more. And so for me, I've already seen enough from Max Lewis to know that he's a much better shot selector than Cam Reddish is. He's going to take better shots. And although he has some deficiencies defensively that Cam may not have, the athleticism and speed is going to be there just because he's younger. So I don't want to pin those guys against each other like it seems like I am. But given the fact that that's who I'm looking at is in regards to who's going to be my backup small forward, it's not even close. It's not close. And so that's a little bit somber for me because I want to see Cam Reddish succeed. But I kind of see what all the naysayers are seeing through the preseason. And you got to give him credit to say that he rolled an ankle in the preseason, so that probably kept him from getting the minutes that maybe he needed. And I give credit to the coaches for allowing him the playing time. You know what I mean? Maybe he can prove me wrong as the season progresses. Maybe he has some big games and shows me what I saw from him when he came back from the injury initially with the Hawks and had a phenomenal playoff game. I haven't forgotten, but I'm not seeing what I need to see to push him ahead of guys like Max Lewis, Max Christie, obviously Taurean Prince, who's playing great, obviously Rui Hachimura. Even he's more so where Alex Fudge is, you know what I'm saying? So to put him in the pecking order in a game like today and see him be one of the main guys that kind of let the lead falter in that 5-man rotation jambalaya of nonsense that Darvin Ham did, I kind of just lost I kind of lost faith in what I think he's going to be for us. And maybe I'm thinking too, maybe I'm just jumping to conclusions a little too quickly, but I think I assess these players pretty quickly and pretty well given what I'm seeing. And a lot of what Cam was doing just comes from a lack of player development that should have already been placed this far into his career, man. So that's really what it is. He's just further behind the learning curve than I prefer him to be a guy coming off the bench as my backup small forward. When I got other forwards that I can play, that I just flat out think are going to play better, man. So hopefully hopefully the coaches believe in him more than I do, and he's able to show me more. Halfway through the season, I could change my tune if he's really playing well. All it takes is him doing, like I said, working hard, man. Get up early and put in more work than everybody else. If he's committed, then he'll develop fine, from here, because he's still young. But there is something to be said for just having other guys that are a bit more advanced, just flat out more advanced, and you can see that it's going to be easier to teach them how to be what it is they need to be than it will be for him in theory. So that's my worry, man. That's my worry about Cam Reddish. That's my worry. And I want to verbalize that now that the end of the preseason has taken place, given the fact that we've seen him in about 3 preseason games, not more than that. But I don't know, man. I'm not overly excited there. So, yeah, man, that's the thing. Now, on the other hand, a guy like Jackson Hayes is complete opposite. He's way better than I thought. I don't know what the hell's wrong with New Orleans. He's way better than I thought. Now, he's limited. We were trying to get him the ball in certain situations. There was a 3-point shot that I thought he should have taken. He passed it up, and we worked the ball around and got a worse shot. I know he's not a 3-point shooter. I know he's not a mid-range shooter. But sometimes when you catch the ball in rhythm and there's no one near you, it's best to just let it fly and see what happens. Because if you do work the ball around, you find out we don't get a better shot as a team. And we didn't. End up with Max Christie falling on the ground at that same play. It just didn't work, man. So that's my criticism of that particular situation. I just want to see all players, whether you can shoot or not, take the rhythm shots that are ultimately wide open in situations such as those. Study that specific play and take that damn shot. But other than that, Jackson Hayes has been great. His athleticism is fantastic. His rebounding is fantastic. He does stay within his wheelhouse, and we do need to find him in circumstances that make sense for him and not ask him to do stuff that he cannot do. I thought that Max Christie showed signs of being a willing passer, but he's not a gifted passer. In fact, I would argue he's one of the worst passers we've seen for our team, based on, just players that are ball handlers tend to do what he does. He doesn't make good decisions passing the rock. That was my issue last year with Max Christie. This year I'm seeing more of that, but he did make some good plays down the stretch of the game with Colin Castleton that shows me he can improve. So that's going to be the key for him. But I'm big on ball movement. I'm big on playmaking. And when I know a guy is deficient in that area, it does kind of take away from my confidence a bit in them. And he is a bit deficient in that area. So he's going to have to work hard on that. And so these are just things I'm pointing out. I know it's criticism that I'm speaking on, but I saw a lot of bad in the second half of that preseason. And I think I know what I was looking at. It was guys just taking bad shots, mechanical errors, stuff like that. I like a guy like Demoy Hodge on the defensive end. He's extremely disruptive. He helps lead other players on his team into defensive stops by way of his pressure and by way of the angles that he takes. He can help another guy get a steal. We saw a lot of that tonight from various players. So I did like the help defense and the assisting defense. I don't know really what the word would be for that. But when you pressure a guy so much that it puts him in a flustered position to where another guy gets a steal. I just liked some of that I saw tonight. Rui Hachimura, still talking about criticism in this game. Especially inconsistent shooting the ball tonight. Not inconsistent, but inaccurate, which is rare for Rui because Rui is one of the more efficient players we have. But he did not hit the shot tonight, and I think I hope that's not a sign of things to come because he's always been extremely efficient, and that's what we like from him. 1 of 5 tonight. I like what I saw from Austin Reeves. He continued to be consistent tonight. He didn't shoot the ball as well as he would like to, but I thought he made some really good plays. So, that's really where my head is. Not so much on the good, but more so on the must improve areas. I think that's what we were able to showcase tonight. Coaching wise, never do another 5-man swap ever again, Darvin. Please, bro. It just hurts the entire situation. I think we went on maybe a 6 or 7 minute scoring drought after he did that. Like, it was really, really bad. And so I just know those players were kind of backed into a corner to where their weaknesses showed based on having to be on the floor with one another in that fashion. So yeah, man, that's really what I gotta say. I mean, the first half was really fun to watch. The Lakers had a 4-point lead going into the half, but we just got off to a really bad start coming out the locker room, as my criticism has often been. And we talked about that this morning in the pregame video. We just don't want our team to not carry that same momentum from the first half to the second half, regardless of who's on the floor. You got to come out of that locker room especially intent on playing well, and I just don't know that that's a strength for our team. It wasn't last year, and it definitely was not tonight. So now that we're done with our preseason, I think it was a successful preseason that we got a chance to look and see what works, what doesn't. But I would have loved to have seen us close games out better. And I would have loved to have seen us allow our starters to do so a little bit. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you want to give kids an opportunity to close games. And yeah, you want to keep your starters fresh. But you don't want your starters to get used to not closing games, because that can get you off to a bad start in the regular season if they don't get no fourth quarter minutes. And I just think that might have been something that we might have backed ourselves into, especially since we see the champs start off. We got an early game with the Clippers. We're going to see some good teams early on, and I'm worried that our inability to see our starters close games could bite us in the backside to start season. So I hope I'm wrong, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, man, I would love to have said better things about this game, but it just left me with exactly what I was worried about, which was a very uninspired second half. Guys coming out the locker room slow and just getting outworked, to be honest, in some ways. I thought the effort was there, so maybe outworked is the wrong way of putting it, but just outsmarted. I just thought we were outsmarted. And that's to be understood, because a lot of the guys that we were using were guys that are underdeveloped at this point and still hopefuls and trying to make the team. So, it is what it is, man. We walk out of this preseason healthy. And I think that's probably the most important thing of all. How healthy are you when this preseason ends? Nobody took on any injuries. Your big guys are healthy. You feel good about that. Christian Wood did not have an especially efficient game. But that's, just like Rui Hachimura, I don't think that's really a thing. Obviously, Devin Booker and Bradley Beal didn't go. We didn't see Jalen Hood-Schifino. I don't remember seeing Grayson Allen. I don't know if he played at all tonight. So it was just a lot of players missing with preparation for the regular season in mind. So, this was one of those games where it's like, man, that first half was fun, that second half was not. That's the best way I know how to describe it. And that's how this preseason has been for the LA Lakers. But I got to admit, I did miss the Golden State game and much of the Milwaukee game, but both of those were losses. So what can you say, man? At the end of the day, it was good to see Max Christie get some shots to fall. I guess that's what I can say. That on a positive note, I really thought that he struggled early in the preseason getting shots to fall, and I think he found his confidence doing that, especially in the second half. The fourth quarter, he really started doing some good things. Colin Castleton impressed the hell out of me tonight in that fourth quarter, being aggressive. I think if I know what I'm talking about, and I don't know that I do, but we're going to have to figure out what happens when Colin Castleton dribbles himself into that middle of the floor free throw area and picks up his dribble. A lot of times we end up finding ourselves needing to pass out of those circumstances, and it tends to make the defense hover around him. So we're going to have to figure that out. It's just something I've been noticing about him. He loves to dribble into those positions, pick up his dribble, maybe go for a jump hook. It rarely turns into anything. So we're just going to need a bit of help trying to figure out what's best in those situations, because I'm not seeing a lot of good when that happens. Little stuff like that just was noticeable tonight, man. Demoy Hodge, as I said, I love his defensive play. His catch and shoot ability is extremely streaky. He's going to have to put in the work. I want him to put up reps. He's one of them dudes I'd be like, all right, you shooting 500 shots today. That's what I want to see from Demoy Hodge, because it's about mechanics for him. Because he's so gifted defensively that if he can get his mechanics right on the offensive end, he'll eventually be somebody you want on the floor all the time. That's a no-brainer. He's just too smart on the defensive end to ignore. He's arguably one of our best on-ball defenders right now. So the problem is you just can't rely upon him consistently offensively as of yet, and that's fine because he's an undrafted rookie. That's exactly what should be the case. But I want him to put in the reps. I want us to prep him to be a real playoff player 2-3 years from now. Because if he's on the floor, he's going to disrupt stuff for the other team. It just is what it is. He's going to most definitely be disruptive in a winning way. So that's something that I think I can say that he stands out in regards to. And the rest is history, man. D'Angelo Russell didn't shoot particularly well in the first half from behind the arc. But I do love his preseason. He had a fantastic preseason. Anthony Davis conditioning looks as good as it's looked, probably ever with the Lakers, to be honest with you. I don't think he's looked this good in prior 10 years, honestly. He looks great. He's bouncing up. He's diving. He's getting up quickly. His conditioning is just fantastic. And so, knock on wood, he doesn't have any injuries. This will most definitely be a big season for him. LeBron James looks great. Like I said, his three-point shot, he's changed it. He's shooting it quicker. He looks like he's got more bounce to his legs. He looks like he's fresher out there than he was last year. I'm excited about the year that King James is having. I just want him to continue to be careful in situations where he's trying to take a guy like Josh Okogie off the dribble. The speed ain't going to be there like that. A guy like Josh, half your age, just your size, it's going to be much difficult to try to score on him in certain situations. So LeBron James is going to have to use his smarts to kind of get around a guy like that, rather than what he was able to in his prime when you just jump over a dude. But that's not where we're at. But even so, his conditioning should make it so that he can keep up with guys like that. And I'm excited about this year more so than I was last year for the King. So it's a lot to like, man. All in all, it is a lot to like. And if we would have kept our starters on the floor, I'm pretty sure we would have had a fun second half, no doubt. But we got player development to consider, and being patient was the only way to play it. So now we're into the regular season, man. It is what it is. A 4 o'clock matchup against the Denver Nuggets in Denver. I don't know what day that is. Is it Sunday? I didn't even check. But I know the game's at 4, so that's the first game on tab for the opening night, whatever night that is. I did not check, but we'll talk about it when it comes around. Happy the team is healthy, man. Very happy the team is healthy. It was fun seeing KD and Bron on the floor together for at least a half of play. Successful preseason. We got to see Giannis and Dame, 2 Steph Curry matchups. The Brooklyn Nets look pretty good. Ben Simmons looked like he's bouncing back very strong. you know, we got a good preseason out of this thing, man. We didn't win as much. I think we ended the preseason 2-4, maybe 2-5, something like that. We won 2 games, and I thought it would have been more if we would have been intentional on winning. So, you know what I'm saying? It's preseason, baby. You just want to walk out of there healthy, get as much data as possible, cut the people who need to be cut, start the people that need to be started, and have your rotations in place. And I think we will have that. And our team is extremely deep, and I think guys are ready to start the regular season. I really do. I expect this to be a very good season for the LA Lakers. We're one of the deepest teams in basketball. We're one of the most versatile teams in basketball. And we have a lot of talent on both sides of the floor. Of the ball, rather. So if you take that into account, you should expect to be there on the end. Period. I mean, it ain't deeper than that. I expect for us to be a championship contender this year so long as health permits. But even if health doesn't necessarily permit, we should be able to make it through the regular season with all the depth that we have. So, God willing, that'll be the case, man. But that's really what I got to say, man. I am glad this game was over. The last 5 minutes of this game was really hard for me to watch. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I was miserable watching that. But hopefully that is the end of that type of thing, man. Our young guys got all the playing time we wanted to see them get. Now it's time to see some D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, fourth quarters. Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Taurean Prince, fourth quarters, man. I need to see my starters now, like for real. It's for all the marbles. The regular season is upon us. Everything counts. I'm good. I don't need to see too much more of what I saw tonight in that fourth quarter. So, yeah, that's where I'm at, man. Time to get these rotations in order. Send some guys to the G League to get some development. Cam Reddish needs to go down there, man. I'm sorry, Cam. You got to go down there, bro. If I'm running things, he's going to be doing some two-way work this year. Because it's about player development for a guy like that. He's going to have to learn how to do other things other than just be dope mechanically. Because he does have some fantastic mechanics. But he was getting out-thought out there left and right. I mean, it just is what it is. He's got to develop. And I think he can do that here. We just got to not rush him in based on where he's at in his career. Don't think nothing of that. Just develop him. That's it. And 2 years, 3 years from now, he'll be a really great fan. He'll be a great role player for us if he does the work. He'll be there. But if we try to rush him in, all we're gonna do is expose his weaknesses. That's it. I'm certain of that. So that's where I'm at with it, man. Move some guys around the pecking order. I think we've learned what we need to see. Farewell to the guys that we waived. You know what I mean? Damian Ba. I don't know the other guy's name. He has a two last name situation like myself. Rivaro Bowman. I'm not sure how to say his name. And of course, Scottie Pippen Jr., for which I thought played really well for us, and I would love to see him continue his career in this league. So the Lakers are set, man. That's pretty much what I got to say. I'm very happy the Lakers gave us something to think about other than what we got going on in this world, man. It's tough times right now. Prayers out to everybody who's suffering, and I thank everybody for rocking with BDF 44, and we're going to give you a great season on this channel. Barring anything changing in my life, I will be intentional on being consistent with these LA Lakers no matter what, because y'all already know how I get down. Laker fan since '94, baby. So it is what it is, man. I thank you for watching BDF 44, and I'm out.